I'm going to do a soft style sketch or study or portrait, whatever you like to call it, of Taylor Swift. This was a request of someone on Patreon. And I thought, yeah, why not? It's nice, it's quick, it's a really fun way of painting as well. It's a little different than what I usually do with my hyper-realistic paintings, as they require more layers. Um, this one doesn't need that many layers, and we are, as always, going to start with the darkest areas, which is the pupils, eyelashes, nostrils, the gaps, and all the shadows. If the shadows are warm, we're going to warm them up, and if the shadows are cold, we're just going to use black. For the small areas, we will use a thin black diluted with water. And well, you will just see me painting for 1 hour and see how quick this goes. Let's go, guys. I'm just gonna put my glasses on. And I have a diluted black. I will use aqua drops, Holbein, Schminke, a little bit of everything. I will just mention the colors and you can use whatever you like. It's going to be a soft style, mainly freehand, but if I need some sharp edges, I will use some stencils or freehand templates, I mean. And there will be some erasing, but it's going to be different than what I usually do. So let's go, guys. I will start with the pupils. Make sure that you adjust the pressure and the paint and that you have a good feeling on how fast or slow the paint shoots out of the gun. If it's too fast and it spiders, reduce the pressure a little bit or thicken your paint. You see that it's opening? That means that my pressure is a little too high for the thin paint. That's fine, we just close it. Only adjust the pressure. There's no need for details yet, but if you fly out of the shape, like you literally change the shape, then you will need to use an eraser to steer the borders towards the right direction and create the right shape. I'm just going to fill in the darks really quickly. Welcome to my live session, dear patrons. I'm going to paint for everyone that just joined me a quick freehand, well, not completely freehand necessarily, but soft style, sketchy style of Taylor Swift on request. And this requires a slightly different approach than my hyperreal portraits. So here we go. It's a fast and fun way of creating portraits. You can use any tool that you like, including, you can cut this out, so you can include stencils if you like. I'll just use erasers to keep it soft. To not lose my eyelashes right now, I'll just use a dark pencil, only to mark them, and later I will airbrush them in. So this is just to find them. That's why I put them in really soft, and I won't lose the location of my lashes, so that I can always find them later on. Even if I spray a bit of shadow on top, they won't disappear. That should be sufficient. I'm going to use an eraser. Let's take the Tombow, clean it. I will sharpen the lines of the iris, try not to change the shape. You can also protect the iris so you won't change the shape. And if there's any questions, you can leave them in here, okay, guys? I will darken it. And like I said, feel free to use any stencils as long as you stay loyal to the shapes and don't change them. I'm going to go as dark as I can because this will be my reference throughout the portrait. I don't want to lose my darkest darks. So this is not totally, and sharpen the borders a little bit. Check for all the cold and dark shadows. skip the warm ones. So if you see that they're red, unless they're really dark, like nearly black, but if you see there's a bright red in there, just skip it for now. We can also put some shadow inside the eyeball. Let's go for the next eye. You can see that I can work much cleaner when the pressure is adjusted. You saw that my pressure was a little too high. It was creating tiny little spiders inside my pupil from the start. And I lowered the pressure. Now it feels good for the amount of paint and water that I have in the airbrush. And everything goes much cleaner and therefore faster and nicer. Let's keep the borders strong or sharp where they are supposed to be sharp. So I'll just hit them, and if I feel like they are too soft, I will just sharpen them up a bit. You also want to keep your darks darker than the dark midtones that are not 100% black, such as the iris, but the lashes are really black, so I need to balance it and come back so they stay darker than the pupil and the iris. Well, the pupil is black as well, but still you want to see them separated and not become one. Also here we have lashes to save. I will just mark them, and then later I'll figure it out with the paint. You can also take a black one, and if you see that they are black and leave it with pencil, that's fine as well, but then you need to do it a bit more accurate. For me, this is just a way to not lose them when I shade over. The start is always the hardest because there is nothing yet, everything is white. And you need to look for your shapes, you need to look for your darks. So try to focus just on that. Try not to jump ahead and look for things that are not important right now. If you use a shield to protect the light, you can paint the dark. It's really soft, so I'll do it freehand. Let's see if we can sharpen up some things. Welcome everyone that is joining me live. It's been short notice, so it won't be very busy, but that's okay because I will publish it for my patrons afterwards. So we got some darks in the eyes, and I'm going to shade a little bit for the eyeballs so they won't look white. Eye white is called eye white, but it's not white, right? It's actually quite dark sometimes, depending on the shadows, the lashes, and how deep the eyes are inside the socket. And of course, light and dark. Sharpening them a little bit more, getting a bit of the white so that the iris stands out a little more. And I can darken my eye white. Okay, we have the darkest darks. All the rest is not black, so I need to adjust my shadow color. Well, I could do some there if you want to put some hair in, but even that is brown. So I'm just going to add a little bit of, you can take red oxide or burnt sienna. I will add some burnt sienna to it. I just need to find it. The more you add, the warmer it gets, and also a little lighter because burnt sienna is lighter than black. Don't forget to put some more water in. You don't need to have very heavy shadows, and therefore you can dilute it quite a lot. So I went from black to dark brown, which is basically a warm shadow color. And this can be used for the corners, which are more reddish, but also really dark. I can even make it warmer. Let me add another drop. Don't forget the water. So it's warmed up a little bit more with sienna. And I'm going to hit the corner. Gentle. It's basically dots that I'm creating, and I put them together like Lego, creating shapes and lines. So it's really easy to do it freehand like this. Easier than taking a shield and try to avoid sharp edges everywhere. You can simply take an eraser, I love my Tombow for that, and shape the corner. That tiny little dot is not really important right now. I can put that in later. I'm also going to shade all the other warm, dark corners. Once these are in, the fun can begin. The only reason why I do this is that I don't lose my shades and therefore the shape of the face. I'm not going to go very deep with my underpainting like I normally do. So this is very loose. You don't have to do it dark, just very loose. Make the nostril sharp on top and loose on the bottom. Connect. And if there's anything to remove, remove. Make sure it stays clean and you don't change the shape of the nostril. There's another one. I will also mark the shadow underneath the nose because it's darker than the nostril. And also here the shadow underneath the tip of the nose, right into the filtrum. It's really soft, so keep your distance and don't give too much paint, or you can add more water. Also here we find a little bit of a shade underneath the nostril. It's a sharp one. You could use a piece of paper for that as well, if you want it sharper than this. And the soft part I pull in freehand, and I will use an eraser to keep it soft. Remember that we are doing a soft portrait. You don't want to see sharp, hard edges if you can avoid them. I'm even going to soften some of the lines that I've used my stencils for if I see that I already think they can be disturbing in the end of my portrait stage. So when I see that they are too rough to become a soft portrait, I simply remove it or soften it with an eraser. Let's balance the eyes, the shadows. Put some more shades in, mark the darks. Also the darks inside the hair, just mark it and do it with soft loose strokes in the direction of the hair. You don't need to paint the hair, just paint the shadows. Keep it loose, remember it's soft. I keep repeating myself because soft is soft, and if you stencil it too much, it's going to look the opposite of soft. You can also use your hands, the side of your hand, to shield the face from the background or the hair, if you want to avoid the stencil look, but need to keep things separated. And let's push in more shadow in the corners, the eyelids. I'll also upload the reference photo for this one. I have it. I thought I had the reference for the lion, but I don't have it anymore. But you can look for any similar lion on the internet and just use the techniques to practice the lion. It's been a private project that was filmed and recorded, so I don't have the reference. Let's shade the nose, the tip of the nose, the nostrils. Keep it really light, right? Keep it so light. It's lighter than what I need, all right? I can gently add a bit more, balance it out. Filter. Now let's do the mouth gap. You can take a stencil, separate the lips, but they're gonna look harsh. And that's the one thing I don't want here. So even the lips, I'm gonna do freehand. And then I will use an electric eraser. You can use this one or the Tombow. Use an electric eraser to mark those little bumps of the lip and keep that edge a little sharper here. We don't find the bumps on the bottom lip, that's more smooth. And now I can darken the gaps. You see one over here, underneath the little bumps. Let me know if you have any questions, guys. I can look at the questions later, as it will just go in my saved files once it's done, the live broadcast. I'll keep it online for you guys for a month, so you can watch it back. A very soft shade underneath the lip, and I want to get rid of those pencil lines. So right now I'm just going to remove these pencil lines. We want to separate the chin from the jawline from the neck. I'm going to take a large shield for that. It's called the big shield, but this is the medium version. It comes in a really nice package if you are interested. Foxy Studio has them in a 3-pack, large, medium, and small. This is medium. The small one is also super cute, but I lost it during one of my travels. I've used it so much because this ship curve is amazing for jawlines and contouring. So this is the one that I usually take when I do my soft portraits and I don't want to shield the background. I just want to create a slightly more contrast between the edge of the neck and the chin, so they don't look attached. Project the light. Oh, one thing that is really important, I have made the sketch with red. You can use red pastel, you can use red graphite paper, or just draw in red with a red pencil. But red is really soft, much softer than gray. So for these soft focus portraits, I prefer red sketch lines. Let's create the sockets. The sockets are always dark, so I'm just gonna shade the sockets a little bit more. I will also use my hand. Like I said, the hand is soft, much softer than a shield, and it's great to protect the background and create soft transitions from lights to darks without changing the shape of your image. And if you do see some overspray, you just remove it with a soft eraser. Check where the shadow becomes larger and spreads, which is always here because of the skull underneath. This is cavity. If you open, this is a cavity. You can put your fingers in there and poke. So it's dark, all right? Everything you can poke with your finger is dark. Okay, let's not forget the tiny little shadows right on the side of our lip corners. Yeah, I don't want to lose this shadow. I'm slowly increasing darkness also here in the neck. But I'm staying a little lighter than what I normally would do And also here I'm just going to let it fade away because I want it to be soft. So you don't want to make tape. You see there's no tape here. You sort of want to leave it unfinished. And necks and décolleté is usually a great way to kind of leave it dripping out of your, or off of your canvas or board, whatever you're using. It's a great way. Just look at the composition and put the weight in balance. I think this is nice to leave it there and not there, but there. Then we have the collarbone, the inside of the ear. I mean the cheekbone, sorry. The cheekbone is usually dark because it's the edge of the skull as well. That is around, that's forming our socket and protection. So it's dark over here and light over there. Now let's see if there's any more cavities or shadows that we can increase. The jawline needs to be a bit more separated and darkened so everything stays in balance. Let's not forget the ear. I always forget the ears. I don't know why. Well, I know why. Because you never look at your ear. When you look in the mirror, it's something that people just forget about. Until you have an ear infection, then you remember you have ears. So, I'll just block in the dark, not worrying about hairs. But as you can see, I do follow the direction of the hair whenever I block in the shadow. So that's all I'm doing. You can also make separations of the ponytail, or how you call this thing, the thing in front, and the bun. Here I will just give it some shadow so that the hair is not white anymore. This side is really dark, so I can give it a bit more. Try not to lose the shape of the face, and don't lose the shape of the head, which is basically the outside of the hair following the form of the head. Very important. Don't give her more or less hair than she has. Okay, the hair is not white anymore. Just gonna blend. We have the shadows, and before I darken it, I am going to check everything. If there's any light that I forgot or anything that I can already sculpt with my erasers. I'm going to take a flat eraser. The blue side is sharp and the pink side is soft. I want to keep it soft, so I'll start with the soft side, and I will start erasing some lights inside the hair. You can also sculpt the hair from the bottom, just to make an impression that it's hair. Remember, it's soft, so the last thing you want is sharp and defined hairs everywhere. We want to keep things like it's an impression of hair, okay? People are going to say, oh, it's beautiful hair, but you didn't really paint hair. It's just an impression of hair with some soft layers and tools. So I'm not going to use scalpels, I'm not going to use pencils, I'm not going to use blades or, fiber pens and that sort of stuff. It's too aggressive, all right? Okay, I sort of like this. I'm going to super clean my airbrush, like really, really clean it. You can also keep the color because it's a really nice shading color in a little jar, and this is enough to finish it later on and darken the shades. Now it's important that you really clean your airbrush, like super clean. So take out the old paint and then clean the cup as well. Because we're going to start working with no fake color. Now this is different than what I normally do. I'm going to mix a very dominant skin tone. We're going to look for her dominant skin tone without actually matching it. We're just going to go for a close to looking skin tone. If you want to be able to erase the skin tone, instead of using the whites that we normally have, you can also use a gouache, which is basically water soluble. You can just put some in your jar, thin it with water, and then spray with it. It's really nice. So this is an opaque skin tone, but it's water soluble, so it erases easily and it keeps things soft. Or you can mix buff titanium, for example, with a tiny bit of red oxide or burnt sienna. Just mix the skin tone, very simple. If it's too intense, add a tiny drop of blue-green, like cyan. That should be sufficient. Now you can use either this or this. This needs to be darkened by sienna or red oxide, or you can use this and check if it needs to be adjusted and made grayer or darker. As this is new for you guys, I will show you this, okay? I'm gonna show you how to work with gouache. It's a watercolor, but an opaque one. It's quite expensive little tube, but you don't need much. You put some in there, just a little knot. Okay, just like this. That's enough. Don't forget to close it. And then we put water inside. Just drown it. There we go, it's drowned. Okay, we're gonna mix it. I will use a tiny brush. Mix it really good so it's smooth and it drips off the brush. It's dripping already. See, it's forming a drop. Well, it needs to be mixed really smooth. Let's take a piece of paper and see how far off we are from her actual skin tone. The dominant skin tone is the skin tone that she has overall, so not in the light and not in the shadow. You can take a cheek or a chin or a nose. I'll take this cheek. It's probably a little lighter, but it's quite close, you see. So I could just use it as it is and then go ahead later on with my shades and everything. I'm just going to use it as it is. I like it. It's quite close. I'll put some in the airbrush, which should be clean, but it's not. Let me just rinse it with some more water until it's transparent. We put some in. That's it. So this is my skin tone, made with gouache, alright? Of course, when you airbrush it, it's a little bit lighter, and if you layer it, it becomes darker, like our match. Of course, you can darken it with your colors such as red oxide, burnt sienna. Anything like that color will darken it and turn it into a darker version of the skin tone. I'm going to start in the darks with my skin tone. That is really strange because I'm going to create shades with an opaque light color. She will look way too white and too flat, but it's a fun and fast way of giving her a super steady base. And because I did create a few soft shadows, she won't look completely flat. Okay, I'm going to start with the T-zone. The shades of the T-zone. Here we go. You don't need to do the hair. The hair can stay transparent, so I'm going to avoid the hair. And you don't need to paint the black, of course, because the black doesn't have to have skin. This is skin that we're using. Okay, you only paint skin because it's skin tone. This is very easy to erase. It doesn't have any tip dry as it is water soluble. You can add some flesh here and we just let it fade because it's a soft style portrait. Remember, just let it fade. Don't be like OCD on the edges. Okay, let it flow. It's organic. We want it soft, romantic. It's a romantic style. So it needs some of your feeling. It's a feeling that you're using, your creative side. Let it out. Everyone has it here. Okay, I need a refill. You see, it doesn't give any tip dry. It's so easy to spray. And this will give me a nice base. On top of the base, you can add darker skin tones, colors, shades, whatever you like. You can easily erase highlights. And basically within 1 hour, you can make a portrait. Now let's erase some. will use the pink eraser for this, which is slightly bigger and stronger than the Tombow, so I can take out stronger highlights. Also the highlights, I keep them soft. If you want some sharp ones, you can look for the glistering reflections like the blown out effect, such as the pupil, the little highlights over there, specular highlights. But don't exaggerate, because it makes things hard again, and we want to keep things soft in this case. Twist around for soft highlights. Don't do this. Just twist around and make overlapping movements. You can go up and down. That doesn't matter. And if you see the highlight doesn't appear, it means that you're too light. So you just go back, give it some paint, and then you can erase. Isn't this a fun way? Now you can add highlights. Don't put too much details and textures. It's not needed for this kind of portrait. Unless you want that, of course, but it's not needed. So here we have highlights. Just look for the highlights. You can give a little bit more love there with your detail stuff, but not too much. So basically the essence is in the softness of the face, the glance. She will look more friendly and not harsh and real. She will look friendly and romantic. So it can be that you want to make a person look less harsh than she actually is, or you want to emphasize the character that she's super friendly and sweet. This kind of portrait style really is suitable for that. Going back, a bit more skin tone. Now this skin tone is quite yellowish. If you want to push it more towards the orange-red side, just add some red, any red that you like. I usually take red oxide as it's really close to the skin tone. It's a bit of an orange-red, like really in the middle of red and orange. And that can really help to, well, give more color to the face without coloring it already. If you hit some dark, like here, don't worry about it, because it's dark. You can always overlap the dark. I touched it when it was wet, not smart, but it's so forgiving. You just paint over another layer and it covers. Okay, let's not forget the ear. You see, I forget the ear. I will add a bit of red oxide. You can also use imidazzolone brown or burnt sienna, as you prefer. Imidazzolone brown is like a dark version of red oxide. This keeps things a little lighter. If I think it's too thick or too heavy, I will add some more water. It's more pinky, but I'm not sure if well, let's try. So it's a little darker, and we gradually go darker and pinkier or browner, whatever you need. We adjust the skin base. I don't throw it out, I adjust it. So I gradually go darker and duller with the same color. Okay, I've reached my limit with this color. The ear is begging me for attention, so I'll give it some. And I'm going to darken it. As the red oxide didn't darken it enough, I will simply use the imidazzolone brown and add a drop of that. It's a darker red. Now we have a darker red. Let's go for the darker shades. Or skin tones, I should say, because the shades will go on top with a transparent. So I did not try the color, I only added a drop of imidazzolone brown, which is a darker red brown. You can also use burnt sienna or even burnt umber if you need it grayer. Keep things soft. Remember, this is a soft style portraiture. It's not hyperrealism. So don't try to make it look hyperreal. Make it look romantic, soft, gentle, sweet. Whatever you want to call it, but not hyper real. It's fast, it's fun, and I must say that when I did this a lot, I had a lot of requests for portrait. People love this kind of portraiture and it's affordable because it's way less work than a hyper-realistic portrait, of course. So it doesn't always have to be hyper to be nice and for people to hang it in their houses. Now, because the base is red, we can already start outlining the lips to not lose them. The inside is more pink, so I will not make the full lips red. I will just make the base. Very gentle. I see that I miss a tiny bit of light here in the nostril. Everything is so easy to remove because of that gouache base layer. Use soft rubbers, don't use aggressive rubbers. So the softer you use them, the softer your portrait is going to remain. If you don't want to touch your board all the time with your hands, because maybe you're sweaty or you have a greasy skin, just take one of those cleaning brushes to wipe off the dust when you're erasing. Now let's give a bit more red on the cheeks here. Let it go. Don't give it a border, just let it go. It's important that you keep the balance in the painting, so the lights need to remain light and the darks darker. If you got that, you basically reached the goal. So I'm checking for that now. I'm checking if my darks need to be darker or my lights need to be lighter. Without worrying about colors and textures and details and all that stuff that you worry about when you do hyperreal stuff. If for some reason she's on fire, you just grab some white and you wash over. I will show you that. So I'm going to make her a little bit too warm here and there. And we're going to give her a white wash. After that, we're going to put some coloring and the shadows, and we're done. Oh, we also have hair to make, but because I didn't make those dark shadows, she looks a little flat. I told you so. But that's not a problem because the shadows are gonna go on top. That's it. I'm gonna throw out this color. Oh, I need to just balance it a little bit more, see? Now I can throw out this color. If you want to keep it, just put it in a jar. It's a nice color, so I might need it later if I shift too much or anything. Now clean it really good. Just put some water in it and clean out that cup. And then we take white. Now this buff titanium white doesn't shift as much as a normal white, so if it's close but you want it just a little softer, you can take a white that is slightly lighter than the skin tone, like buff titanium, and you shift it with that. If it's really too warm, just take a transparent white, such as zircon or zinc white. These are both transparent whites. This is slightly warmer, so let me take the coldest one so you can see the difference. Put a little bit of water in there, not too much. I want to keep it strong enough to do that. I'm going to shift her. White is thick, so I'm going to increase the pressure. And I'll just shift. I will start in the eyeball to see how strong it is. So you should see a little shift appearing in the eyeball. It's a weak white. Okay, that's what we want. It's really weak, but you can see the difference, okay? She's now got blue eyes. So everything you touch with this transparent white becomes colder, bluer. So if the skin is too orange, you just hit it. This is called a white brush. Don't be afraid. Woohoo! Now she's got a similar skin tone. We'll also flatten the image, but that's not a problem because we still need to put the shadows on top. So this will help to neutralize the skin, make it look more real, and it gives you the colder colors that we have not been putting in because we only use warm colors so far. So the whitewash sort of makes it soft, less glowy, more real, if that's what you want. You see? If you don't do it, it's more cartoony. So I'm going to clean out this. The first thing we do is bring back the shadows. So we start with black again. Super clean your white. It's a little bit more back and forth, but I didn't want to go around those eyes. That would take me more time than just bringing them back with a tiny bit of black. You can even use a shadow black. You don't need to have a thick black for that. You can use any black you like. I'll just use a normal black. One drop is enough. Thin it really good. Lower the pressure. Here we go. Just follow whatever you have and darken it. You can do that with really thin paint. And now you see why I didn't paint those lashes yet, because I wanted to show you this technique, which is so much fun. Also for corrections, by the way, if you need to correct something on your hyperrealistic work or whatever you're doing, don't be afraid of white. White is so helpful. White can be actually your best friend. You see that I've created blue eyes without using blue. Time to thin it and add the warm black. I have saved some of that warm black, so I'm going to put that in. Clean this out, put this back in. This is the warm one that's mixed with sienna. We're going to bring back the shadows. If you make it really thin, you can do little lashes or eyebrows like this. Keep it soft. You can look for the shades a little bit more accurate inside the hair. Just the shades, don't color the hair because it's a dark color. So you can only shade with it. By repeating in the direction of the hair, you will automatically create some sort of an illusion of hair. It's a fast, loose movement with very little paint coming out. Don't pull the hairs too far over the face. You could use your hand to shield. If you don't know where to stop, you just use your hand to shield it. It stays soft, but it stays in line. See that? Easy trick. Can do the same thing here. This way you know where to place the hairs. Got stuff on it. And where the skin starts. That's do the shadow on the chin. This is probably already too cold for that, so I'm going to warm up for the face. I will stay around the eyes because they can use a bit more. And I see that for the rest of the face, I just need warmer shades. That means I need to add a warmer color to the mix. Anything you mix with black is a shade. For soft shades, you use a lot of water, and for heavy shades, you use little water. Just the corners, the rest is really red. Okay, let's hit it with some more red. I'm going to warm up this color again with more red. You can use red or sienna. I'm going to go for the imidazzle brown redder and put more water in because I don't want to overshoot. Okay, this is a bit warmer and it's perfect for the shadows around and inside the hair. And the eyebrows, the sockets, the nose, everything basically that is warm and dark. After this we will find our highlights, see what we can refine there. We just draw it out of the, or pull it out of the overspray with erasers. Keep shading soft, thin layers with mainly warm colors because I've shifted everything cold, and it means that I can work with nice warm colors. It's much easier to work with nice warm colors than blues and greens. They're often way too aggressive, blacks. So I cool it down on purpose, and then I can just warm it up with a lot of control. Clean the needle sometimes. Sometimes you see me spraying it in the palm of my hand just to keep it clean. And my overspray is a bit much there, but if you remove it in time, there's no problem. And then with a big eraser, you can remove the big residue. So first you use a small eraser for the lines or the outline to not change the shape. And then you can use a big one to remove the dust. You can do that better, of course. Let me go to the nose. I already got my hard edges. I can just hit it and create some overspray. Maybe I do need to bring back the nose a little bit. The whitewash has flattened it a little bit too much there. But as you can see, I just bring it back. Let's put a bit more focus on the eyes, because when the eyes are nice, that's all people can see. And then the rest is like, people can fill it in with their brain. You don't have to fill everything in for them. It's nice to look at something that you can actually finish with your eyes and your brain. Soften this line a little. You can always take white to soften things if your eraser is too sharp, but I think this is pretty fine. Because my layers are so thin, it's very easy for me to remove things. So try to work really thin. That's the trick here. And don't try to finish in one layer. Put more layers. Of course, if you take your time, you can be as precise as you want. I am just showing you another fun and fast technique to create this soft style portraits, which I love, by the way. I really like it, and my clients like it too. And it's a nice way for you to generate commissions, because it's much faster than the other technique that I'm using for my hyper-realistic portraits. Of course, there are similar things. I mean, it's me, it's my techniques, so I'm using things that I've gained throughout the years, but the whole fleshing and the whitewash is what makes it different and fast. And also the fact that I'm not focused on details and pores and textures is what makes it fast. It's also what people love to do with their selfies. They like to put a filter over it and blur them out. So you don't see their pores, you don't see their wrinkles and all that stuff. The things that we love to paint. People they don't like to see that by themselves, so. Or at themselves. So we leave it out. This can be a little sharper. And if you really lost it, you just cut out the face and place it over one time, make a soft swoop, and back is your jawline. But this always needs to be separated. Blend. And we blend a little more. There we go. Also, this way you don't need a lot of color to keep it soft and simple, romantic. The minute you're going to throw in the full color palette is going to take away from that feeling. Because colors make it harsh as well, vivid. You don't want things vivid, you want to make it like it's almost pastelized. A bit blurry, a bit, you know. You can put some shading in the lip and just use one of your erasers to create some of the gaps. Don't go in and make lines with a dark color. Just pre-shape them first, and then later you can make them slightly darker by following the light on the sides. Way easier than pulling dark lines and then, oh, that looks like, I don't know, a worm or spaghetti. Usually they look terrible. The bright lights we can just use an electric eraser. We can soften the ones that need softening later. in the colors for another time. I'll just do today the shading. I'll do the lip and shading and the erasing. And I'll leave the rest for another session. Live again here on YouTube through Patreon. Where is my eraser? Here I need a bit more aggression because it's too warm. I could cool it down again with white or blue. But with blue it needs to be light enough to do that. So I'm going to aggressively erase some. And then leave it to my blue tones for later on. We can also blend the lights that need softening. Sculpt the cheekbones. The chin, don't forget the chin. Maybe you have overspray that you want to remove. Keep it a little bit clean. Some more shading. You can see I haven't really been using a lot of color. Mainly skin tones that I have mixed together. And the whitewash that did a lot. So it's that combination that gives you this effect. Here we go, guys. Let me know what you think of these little live sessions. I love doing them, so if you have any feedback, let me know. And we might be doing more. Because you can learn a lot in a short time. I just need to know what you love to learn. After taking away some dark, so creating lights like the hair, just bring back some dark because now you can see where you need to put the dark. Again, balancing. But a bit more defined, a bit more precise. We can do the lashes. Well, from previous lessons, you know how to do lashes. So if you don't want to freehand them, use one of those methods. Same for the eyebrows. Just remember that you want to do a soft style. So that's why I do many things freehand as much as I can to maintain that soft look. But if that is not your goal, you can do whatever you like. Remember never to be limited, okay? You don't want to have any limits as an artist. You want to have freedom. Oh, that's the black of the pen. You want to have freedom. So you can create. The last thing you want to do is limit yourself by saying, I cannot do this or I cannot use that. That's just going to put a lot of delay in your progress and results. So never limit yourself. Try to be an open book for anything and everyone that you possibly could learn something from, and give it a try. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's just paint, it's only paint. In the worst case, you remove it or you overpaint it, right? So let's give her some lashes here. If she looks fatter, it means that you don't have the jawline. You need to put more shade in the jawline and the neck. Now let's give it some color in the lips as well. Also for this, because I want to keep it soft and quick, I'm going to mix a pre-mixed lip color. So I'm not going to work with an underpainting as much as I normally do. I will just mix the color for the lips. So let's go. That will be the final thing I will do today. Clean out this shadow color. You rinse it with some cleaner or alcohol so you don't have any black in her lips. It's like a pink. Magenta is like a pink, so we can take magenta as our base. We put some white in there. Oh, sorry, I'm bumping the camera. We put some white in there to make it opaque. And then we can adjust it with other colors if we want it warmer, colder, or grayer. So I will put some mixing white in there. You can use any white, but keep it thin. See what we have. Put up the pressure because it's got white in there. Let's make a quick spray out. Give enough paint. So it's opaque. It stops at a certain point. It doesn't change anymore. The color stays like this because it's got white in there, right? Dry it. Place it above the lips, and then we can see that her lips are slightly warmer. So I actually need to warm up my color. Warmer than magenta is on the warm side of magenta, which is orange and yellow. On the cold side is blues and violets. So I don't want blue and violet, I want orange and yellows, okay? Any of that color will warm up this. So let me just take some yellow and turn it into a more orangey lip color. This is closer to orange, so it doesn't go as fast as a lemon yellow. This would go faster, it's closer to green, all right? I want to make a slow change, so I'll take a warm yellow, closer to magenta. All right, just a little. See what we have. It's always easier to mix in a little jar like this, but one thing. You can see it's warmed up a little. I can work with that. That's fine. All right. It's like adding lipstick. Start with the darks, and you can use your erasers to sculpt it. You can thin your paint a little if you find it creepy to work with a thick paint, but you will need more layers to create that creamy look. Sometimes you can also use this color in the corners of the eyes and the cheeks, because usually this color also sort of comes back inside the rest of the face, but you need to put a lot of water in there. Okay, so I'm just going to put a lot of water in there. And we give it a bit of a rosy cheek here. Very nice for the romance. We're making a romantic portrait, right? We give her a bit of a rosy nose. Always nice to have nosy roses, ears, mouths, and cheeks. So that's where we go. There's not too much. Corner of the eye. A little bit of pink on the nose, just a little. Now keep the paint in your airbrush, and we're going to put some soft textures in the lips. So in case you need to come back, you still have the color. Also here I won't put too much definition in, but it does need to look like a lip. Okay. So lips have textures and separations, and little bundles of cracks and whatnot. So we have some sort of a soft lip texture. Let's bring back those strong highlights. You can use the electric eraser. I also have a softer one. This one, the electric one from Idea, which is a little bit smaller and easier to control details in the lights than the other one. A bit of dirt. The other one is stronger, but I don't need that right now. It's so thin and easy to remove. If the paint is not easy to remove, it means that you have been using it way too thick. You need more water and less layers. Okay guys, that's it for today. I'll just soften these edges of the lights and see if I need some of the paint before I throw it out. Usually yes. I can create the lip crack with it, but then I will thin it a bit more. So put some water in. Clean the needle. Make the separation in the center of the lip, right underneath the point of the upper lip. You will find the separation in the bottom lip. There. I will follow all the little cracks now that I can see them after erasing. Make her smile just a little bit more. And then for the next lesson I will come back with some glazing and final contrast. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comment section, and we'll take it from there. Bye guys!